Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Dana and this class is a preparation towards Warrior 1, Virabhadrasana 1. If you struggle with Warrior 1, if you have tight hips, if you have low back issues when you back bend, this is probably going to be the class for you. It's going to address tightness in the hip flexors and the psoas. It will be strengthening and warming, as well as a good full body stretch. So I hope you enjoy it. If you would come over to your sticky mat and have 2 blocks nearby, as well as padding underneath the knees, if you typically use that when you're on your knees. We're going to start with what I'm going to refer to today as puppy stretch. So I'm calling it that because this would be a downward dog with the legs straight. I want you to keep that shape in the spine that you create in downward dog, but I want you to stay on your knees. So it's not quite the full grown downward dog. Would you walk your arms forward and be light on your fingertips, be light on the finger pads. As you lift your navel, keep your arms straight, take your head down towards the ground. And let's collect ourselves here for this first moment. Can you let your head relax down into the earth underneath you? And begin to take some full, deep breaths. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. Deep breaths in and out. Deep breaths into your navel, into your abdomen, into your neck and your shoulders. Take a couple more full deep breaths in this puppy stretch. Arms extended, arms straight. Back long, spine extended. Now, can you maintain this shape and gently begin to roll your head and shoulders side to side? So I'm actually rocking my forehead across the floor. I'm rocking my shoulders gently side to side. Gently open through your neck, through your shoulders, through your middle and your upper back. Just a couple more times. Let any tension in your face, your forehead, your neck and shoulders melt away. And then back through center. And from there, you can let your head gently lift. Let your hands come onto the ground. And notice how my hands are set a full handprint forward of my shoulders. So now we'll come into that full grown downward dog. So I push out through my palms, I anchor my toes, and I lift my hips well up towards the ceiling. Once again, arms are firm and straight. Let your head move between your arms. Extend through your spine as you stretch through your legs. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. Let the breath move through your body like a wave. In then gently place your knees down towards the ground. Let your hands be underneath your shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Right foot comes forward in between the hands. So you're in a low lunge. Notice how I can keep my spine flat or extended while my hands are on the floor. If your spine is rounded, absolutely use the blocks underneath you, because the objective today is to get into the hip flexors. So we want to keep a neutral extended spine. Now start to move your hips gently forward and then gently back. So notice how I'm still bent in my right knee, and I rock my hips gently forward and back. And hips forward and back. And 3, hips forward, back. 2 more, hips forward and back. Then 1, hips forward and back. Now right leg comes underneath, left foot forward in between the 2 hands, spine extending away from the hips. Take a deep breath, and then hips forward and gently back. So again, as I bring my hips forward, I maintain a long extended spine. Hips back. And again, hips forward. I'm softening my hips forward and back. And 3, forward and back. And 2, coming forward and back. And 1, coming forward and back. Bring your left leg back underneath you. Puppy stretch. So hips stay up, arms forward, light on the fingertips, head towards the ground, elbows up at the same time. So right away now, keep breathing down into your navel. Start to rock your shoulders and your head side to side. Deep breaths and rock it open. Full deep breaths in and out. And then back through center, lifting head, hands underneath your shoulders. Right foot forward. In between your 2 hands, we're adding on. Keep your spine extended. Move your hips forward. Now, when you pull your hips back, could you start to lift your right toes off of the ground? Again, see how my back stays flat or my spine is extended. And again, bend forward and back. And forward and back. Forward and back. And 2, forward and back. And 1, forward right knee bent and pause. Now see how my hips, now that I'm prepared and my hips a bit more, my tailbone, I'm actually going to tuck it underneath me. So see how I tuck my hips like I do in cat pose, which a lot of you know really well with me. And I'm going to keep tucking my hips as I start to upright myself and I rest my hands on my right thigh. So pelvis is tucking. That creates a strong stretch through my back leg. Keep tucking and pulse your hips forward and forward. Deep breaths forward and forward. And 3, 2, 1, and hold. Keep that tuck, pressing hips forward. Roll both of your shoulders back. Urdhva Hastasana arms. So that means extend your arms straight up towards the ceiling and lift up and breathe. 5. Stretching up. 4. 3. Tucking hips. 2. 1. Now place hands to the right thigh. Take hands to frame the right foot or place the hands on blocks. Extend both legs straight. So 2 legs straight, spine away from the hips as you extend your 2 legs straight. Breathe and stretch. Breathe and stretch your legs. Full deep breaths and stretch your legs. Then bend both knees, lightly place left knee down, right leg comes back. Downward facing dog is hands forward of the shoulders, tuck the toes, pick up, breathe. Firm and straight arms, long, extended spine. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. And down onto the knees. Second side, so left foot coming forward, in between the hands. So it's extended spine, sending hips forward, then left leg extending straight. And notice how I'm keeping my spine long. Extended. I bend my left knee, spine forward, then hips back, legs straight, and 4, and back, 3, and back. 2, and back. And then 1, and back. Then left knee bends. Hips tuck, tailbone tucks under. Keep tucking your tailbone as you start to lift up onto your thighs. So I have a strong tuck in my hips like I do in cat pose. Right thigh is pressing backward as the hips tuck. Shoulders roll back. Keep breathing deep. Reach arms up in an Virabhadrasana arm shape. Arms up and arms back. And breathe. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. Nice. One more deep breath. In and out. And then hands come down. You're going to extend your spine, then both legs straight. So this is an intense side stretch pose, Virabhadrasana in the Sanskrit. Shoulders back, spine forward, deep breaths, enjoy. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. Last deep breath in and out. Then gently, right knee to the ground, left leg comes back, and you're gonna pick up in a downward facing dog. So anchor the toes, push out through your palms, lift, breathe. Stretch your legs, stretch your back, stretch your arms. On your inhalation, look forward to your hands and take your legs, feet forward. Push firmly into your feet. Let your spine go forward. So let your legs be firm. Let your legs stretch well, but not at the expense of overstretching, not at the expense of your back. If you need to, you can always bend your knees a little bit, in other words, and that might be a bit better for you. So we're going to counter the deep hip flexor stretching we've been doing by bending the knees, tucking the hips under. Again, this is like a cat-shaped spine. And I roll my spine up until I'm standing tall, and I gently roll my shoulders back in mountain pose. Okay. In mountain pose, Tadasana, that's the Sanskrit. Mountain pose, we're standing firm and tall like a mountain. I'd like you to place your hands across your top thighs, right here. And I'd like you to press your thighs backward into your hamstrings. Okay, so the backs of your legs, I'd like you to push back into your hamstrings. And then watch how I simultaneously tuck my tailbone. See how my buttocks, they're lengthening away from my low back. And my thighs, they're not going to jump forward, right? I'm going to keep thighs back, tailbone tucking, navel back. Okay, so we're going to remember that feeling of the thighs pushing back and the tailbone moving to the thigh. I'd like you to come forward into a standing forward bend. So to do that, press your thighs back. Let your spine move away from your hips. Let your hands come towards the ground, then take a downward facing dog. And see how I set my hands out forward of my shoulders? That gives me a bit more room in my shoulders, upper back and neck, once I come into downward facing dog. Deep breath in and out. Then two knees touch down. Notice how I keep my spine extended in transitions. Right foot comes forward between the hands. Right knee is bent. Left hand comes to left thigh. Push back. Right hand to right thigh. Keep pushing left thigh back, but tuck. Tuck your hips under. Bend into your right knee. And then curl your chest and spine up. So it's thigh back, tailbone tucking, navel in and up. Keep breathing. So important. Deep breaths in and out. Right hand can stay. Left hand can stretch up. Lift up. Pull back. Right forearm, right thigh. Left arm, side bend, right. Left thigh stays, hips tucking, navel back and side bend. Stretch. Another deep breath. And then through center, hands, frame the right foot, 2 straight legs, spine extended, Virabhadrasana, spine extended. Hands where they need to be, floor or blocks. But notice how I'm going to keep moving my spine away from my hips as I walk my arms and hands now forward, away from my hips. See how I'm trying to lengthen my torso away from my hips. Deep breaths 3. Deep breaths 2. Deep breaths 1. Now can you walk your hands back in? There's more. You're going to bend your right knee. Take your left foot back a little bit more until, as you can see, you're in a lunge shape with your left heel lifted. Right knee is deeply bent, spine extends. Left hand, left thigh, push your left thigh up. Spine forward, right forearm onto the right thigh. So I'm prepping a warrior 1. Thigh back, navel forward, spine forward. Now again, left arm begins to pull away from the left hip. Pull away from the left hip. Pull away from the left hip with the left arm. Keep breathing. Stay strong. Keep breathing. Stay strong. Keep breathing. Look forward as you pull your navel up. Pull your right arm up. Warrior 1. Left heel lifted variation. Breathing 3. Breathing 2. Then right forearm, right thigh, left hand towards the ground, right hand towards the ground, left knee to the ground, right leg coming back. Now it's a child's pose or forward facing hero's pose. Your big toes touch, knees spread. Let your arms extend forward, relax. After that strong work for the hip joints, now let it go. Take a few deep breaths in and out. Relax it all. Inhalation, lifting up, second side. So left foot, it comes forward, in between the hands. And as you come forward, I want you to find again that cat tuck of the hips. Right hand coming to the right thigh to push the thigh back while you tuck the hips. From there, you would start to roll the spine up. And I have to think my thigh and my tailbone, they are moving towards each other and it's creating a lock in my hip. So I'm stabilizing my hip from my thigh and my tailbone. I hope that makes sense. And if you're really doing that work, thigh back, tailbone tucking, you should get a lot of sensation going through the right hip. So then notice how left forearm is on the thigh. I keep that tuck, keep breathing, stay calm, keep breathing. Right arm could begin to extend away from the hip. So I'm breathing into my navel, I stretch my side, I lengthen my spine. I'm learning to stabilize my right hip and stretch away from the right hip. Breathe and stretch. Full deep breaths and stretch. Last deep breath, in and out. And then coming forward, setting hands, you're going to extend your legs straight, extend your spine away from your hips, and then maybe let your arms and your spine move away from your pelvis. Breathe as you strengthen and stretch the legs, lengthen away from your hips. Stretch, straighten, and lengthen the legs. Now, head lifting, hands walk in, left knee bends. So you're in a lunge. Okay. So I happen to have a wall handy, which is lovely. I'm pressing my heel into the wall. It's a great option. See how I take my right hand up onto my thigh and I push up? And then I roll my shoulders back. And I'm using left hand on my thigh to help me lift my chest. See how I'm tucking my hips while I'm pushing my thigh back. Then right arm can extend up and away from the hips and breathe. And stretch and open the hips. Stretch through the right arm. Breathe down into your abdomen as you stretch through your right arm. Breathe and stretch and open. Open the hip, lengthen spine. Stretch through the right arm. Stay stable. Keep breathing into your hips as now you begin to upright yourself and come towards that upright Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. So arms extending upward, right thigh back, hips tucking, spine lifting, chest open, deep breathing. Another deep breath. I'm coming out the same way I came in. So left forearm down, I have that little side bend, then right hand down towards the ground, left hand towards the ground, and I bring right knee down, left knee back, and it's child's pose. So giving that break to the hips, the thighs, and the back. Another deep breath. And then lift yourself to the hands and knees. We'll take Warrior 1 pose and intense side stretch pose one last time. So you're going to take downward facing dog. You'll be coming towards the front of the mat from there. So I push out through my toes, through my hands, my fingers, I press backward through my heels. I take that nice long stretch in down dog. Enjoy. Remember how it felt to have your hands on your top thighs. Push them both backward. It's like this. I push both of those thighs backward, it lengthens my entire spine. Then feet forward, legs forward. Press your feet. Let your knees be either straight or bent, whatever is helping you relax and lengthen through your spine. Be sure that you bend your knees a little bit as you roll yourself up through that cat-shaped spine. Open chest at the top, thighs back, abdomen back, shoulders back. So this is mountain pose, Tadasana. From mountain pose, we're gonna keep feet hips width and step left foot straight backward. Left foot steps straight backward. So notice how I'm coming into a bent right knee. My left leg is straight. Left thigh needs to push backward. Hips tuck under as you lift spine. So now let's begin to pulse a bit into the hips. So remember, this is our last go with Warrior One. So be mindful, but stay with it if you can. I'm trying to pulse into my hips a little bit more. I'm trying to open and strengthen just a little bit more. Prepare those hips. Then I'm gonna spin my left heel into the ground, and then see how I'm trying to tuck my hips, and I'm gonna pulse a few times into my right hip. And then finally, as I tuck my hips, press left thigh back, bend knee. I'm gonna upright my spine, keep right hand down, lift. Left arm into that side bend, work into those hip flexors, work into the side one last time here. Another deep breath and stretch. Then right arm also up. This is full Warrior One pose. When the left heel is down, that's the classic Virabhadrasana one. Then straighten the right leg as you take the hands to the hips. Parsvottanasana coming forward. So I need to take my feet a little bit closer together. You might not need to, depending on how deeply you came into your Virabhadrasana. One, notice how I'm trying to move my right hip back away from my right shoulder. I maintain a long, extended spine. I stretch over my legs. Like we did earlier, perhaps walking forward with the arms. I'll show with the blocks this time since they're handy. You can traction your spine by moving your arms away from your hips. Then hands come in. Right knee bends. I'm picking up left heel. And then see how I step forward to my feet, hips width apart. Feet, hips width apart. Your knees could be bent or straight, dive forward. Let this work for you. Think cat spine as you lift yourself up and roll up, standing tall in mountain pose at the top. Thighs back, navel back, shoulders back, one more side. Right foot, stepping back. So heel is up, left knee bent, hips tucked, navel back. As I push back through my thigh, I begin to pulse and pulse. So just be kind to your hips, be kind to your back, breathe and stretch, enjoying the fact that this is our final Warrior One. So getting that nice preparation would spin my right heel into the ground. See how I'm going to keep my thigh back, I'm going to curl my chest up, and then I'm going to stretch through my right arm, through my right side. So I'm keeping my right outer hip gently forward. I'm not forcing my hips to do anything that they're not giving towards at this point. Again, be kind to your joints, but I am pulsing a bit, letting my hips open. Then I'm still, again, tucking my hips, drawing my navel back, and I'm gonna stretch up into that full warrior one. And just take those last deep breaths. From there, left arm coming down, we come out the same way. And then right hand coming down, and I'm going to come forward into that lunge. Then see how I'm extending my spine. See how I'm taking my feet a little closer together because I got quite a spread with that last pose. Try to stretch your heel towards the ground, back heel, right heel, and maybe even blocks under the hands to give yourself that extra bit of length in your spine. And then left knee bending towards that little bit of a lunge, right foot forward. Feet hips width. My knees are bent for sure now as I dive forward. Hands on floor or blocks. Knees stay bent. Arms walk to the right. Arms walk to the right. Lengthen the spine and breathe. Lengthen through the left side of your low back and breathe. Then arms to the second direction. So I twist towards the left and I stretch through the right side. So I'm lengthening the right side of my back. Center, dive spine forward. Then downward dog, legs back. Press thighs back, lengthen spine. Stay inward, deepen your breath. Child's pose, knees wide, big toes touch. Lift head and chest, walk your arms to the right. Arms to the left. Arms through center. Relax and breathe. Relax your hips and breathe. Last deep breath, in and out. And gently lift yourself up. And if you have a wall nearby, take your legs up the wall. You could also just end in a relaxation flat on your back. But after all of that hip and low back work, legs up the wall is a great way to end. Notice how I'm starting with my sits bones and my feet facing the wall, and I'm moved right up to the wall. I tuck my shoulder underneath me, and then my legs come up the wall, and I'm really close to the wall. I know that some of you will be tight in your legs and your back, and you might not want to stay that close, and that's fine. But see how I just settle in here, and I make sure that this doesn't feel like it's not a super strong stretch at this point. The objective here is to let my back and my hips relax. Let your arms gently relax to the sides and take a little shake for your head side to side. And then when your head comes through center, look at your legs and take a figure 4. Right ankle can come onto the left thigh, and then bend your left knee. Let your right hip stretch. So this is a really supportive way to take a figure 4. Relax and breathe. Relax and breathe. And stretch your legs up and switch left ankle, right thigh. Bend your right knee. Stretch and breathe. Deep breaths. Stretch and breathe. Breathe into your abdomen, breathe into your hips. And stretch both of your legs up. Deep breaths in. Deep breaths out. Let your legs recover in this mild inversion. Let your brain relax while you're here. Let your back relax. Let your hips relax. Let it all relax. And gently, slowly, you can begin to bend the knees in towards you one last time. Take your time to lift up and sit up and join your hands in front of your heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today. That was fun. enjoyed it, and I'll see you later. Bye.